this carrier update brought to you by Powerfleet. I'm here with Zach Strickland, the Sultan of Sonar. Zach, what are we starting off with?
Yeah, let's start off with our outbound tender volume index and tender rejection index, just to give everybody what they need. That demand side dropped a little bit yesterday. We're still kind of in this little band of activity, but it's probably explained by tender rejections drop. So it's not necessarily we're seeing a less volume moving through the space, or significantly less, I should say, because we had another little small dip in the tender rejection index. Continuing that trend line, kind of not as strong as it was yesterday. We saw a pretty strong, like half a percentage point drop yesterday almost, and today down to 17.74%. So the market's kind of slowly easing up a little bit. It's very incremental. Doesn't mean that we're out of the woods in terms of capacity tightness just yet. Demand's still very strong. Tender rejections still high, but it looks like things are going to get marginally better very slowly at this point in time. We're going to break down a few of those reasons why that may happen here in the next few updates. But let's go ahead and go on into the next chart here. So this is our van contract rate index. This does not include fuel. This is straight line haul rates, so just pure transportation costs averaged with our $80 billion database warehouse over the last 4 to 5 years of information, and $2.90 a mile is the average for van contract rates, and that is a strong increase. We were about $2.20 about 13, 14 months ago in this index. So very significant rate increases going on, and we continue to press higher into 2022. Now this is expected because rate increases on the contract side are negotiated on a much longer cycle, tend to be about 12-month cycles, but we've seen them shrink over the last year or so to these 3-month, these quarterly renegotiations, these monthly in certain circumstances, and even weekly in extreme situations, which to me might as well be a spot market. And then up here in the orange line, we have our van spot rate index. And this green line right here, you saw that yesterday. That is the DOE average price of ultra-low sulfur diesel retail in the United States right now, $4.85 per gallon. So I can put all of them on the same chart too. So the point of this chart is to say these two right here, these two numbers are what are going to prop this number up and keep it higher. As you can see, it's dropping week over week over week. At this point, we're kind of in this downward motion. But the big question is, where does it start to encounter some resistance? Because a lot of this up here, a lot of market bidding higher. It's not based on cost, because most of pricing is, you've got costs and then you've got market pricing. So the market part is the hard thing for carriers to really kind of pinpoint, because it just depends on what are shippers willing to pay. And this moves a lot more violently because it is a daily renegotiation. So it's always kind of moving towards what that market value is. This one, that consistent freight volume, you kind of give them a discount in times like this because you can rely on their discounts. You can rely on their consistent volume, I should say, not discounts, but their consistent volume, kind of repeat customer relationship building type situation. This one right here, very volatile. So this right here is mostly based on cost. It's got a little bit of market in it, but these contract rates, as long as these things are getting higher, it's going to help push the spot market higher until that moment becomes where supply overcomes demand. And we're not there quite yet. We still got a ways to go. And then, of course, this is something that we cannot overcome. This one right here is going to be absolutely in there. That's the price of fuel, and it is going to have a significant impact if it stays up there, which it looks like it probably won't, at least in the near term. But long run, this is going to show up not in this week's spot market rates, because this is a lagging indicator. This is what happened last week. This doesn't get applied until this week. So even then, it's going to take it a minute to kind of show up in a lot of these rates.
And what does this mean when you look at the carrier of different sizes and different fleet sizes? I mean, we're looking at small carriers versus large carriers.
Yeah. That is a tremendous question, because small fleets, small carriers don't have as much negotiating leverage with in getting some of these rack prices or the wholesale price of fuel or diesel. The small guys, then the owner ops tend to pay closer to this value, whereas the big guys get to pay a discount off this. Now, it's not going to matter when it's moving this much higher this quickly. The big guys pay too. There's not a lot they can do about this. I mean, there's only so much hedging you can do when you have this kind of movement. But the fact that the DOE reacted this quickly is a pretty decent sign for larger fleets, because fuel surcharges are based off of this number. That's the thing that they pay off, or they pass along to the customer. If this goes up quickly again, that is kind of a problem for larger fleets. But in the long run, the smaller guy definitely pays more at the pump than the large fleets do.
And Zach, thank you so much for this update. We'll check in with you again throughout the morning. Right now, we're going to toss it back to Kaylee and Michael.